Hi everyone, welcome to my presentation of my final project for our CMST 602 class. I am posting this a little bit early because my son and I are going out of the country. We're going to Jamaica next week, so I will not be around to post my project or to be able to provide you guys feedback until after I get back and after the course is over. So I'm posting this a little bit early, so I hope that you enjoy this. My project is to create 3 activities that hopefully represent the spirit and the recommendations of Freire and Winger. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about those with this presentation, and I'll get started. So my goals in constructing these activities were to build and strengthen community within my classroom. Research evidence abounds showing that there's a connection between the sense of belonging that a student has and their retention. So I wanted to strengthen community not just because Winger says that the community is part of learning, but there also is a tremendous amount of research with regard to building community and creating retention in my class. I wanted to employ dialogue to negotiate meeting. Both Winger and Freire advocate participation through dialogue. I wanted to explore generative themes and represent acts of liberation. Hopefully the activities that I put together are going to help my students think about what makes them tick. You be the judge, and I welcome your feedback on that. I also want to reflect effective cooperative learning strategies. These are the strategies that are advocated by the Johnson brothers. Those strategies include positive interdependence, which means that the groups interact with one another in a way that is we win if I win if we win, not in an I win, you lose kind of environment. Also, there's individual accountability. Each student is responsible for his or her own learning, that there is a group processing component to the activity, and that it builds the students' social skills. Now, the first activity is something called the Silent Socratic Dialogue. This is based upon an activity in the on-course workshop that I attended with Skip Downing. What happens is that students move through cycles of thoughtful questions and responses related to a quote that is meaningful to them. The entire dialogue takes place silently, and the students use the dialogue as foundation for a speech related to the quote. Now, the quotes themselves are personal in nature, so we'll show you a few examples of these. There are going to be about 40 quotes that the students can select from, and they include some of these. One of them, a man who views the world the same at 50 as he did at 20 has wasted 30 years of his life. That's by Muhammad Ali. It takes courage to grow up and become who you really are, E.E. Cummings. Seek freedom and become captive to your desires. Seek discipline and find your liberty. That's Frank Herbert. From my tribe I take nothing. I am the maker of my own fortune. Tecumseh, I don't know how that's pronounced. We are all in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars. That's Oscar Wilde. And imperfection is beauty. Madness is genius, and it's better to be absolutely ridiculous than absolutely boring. That's Marilyn Monroe. All of these quotes and the others hopefully will resonate. One of them, at least, will resonate with the student. They have to select the quote that resonates with them, talk about that quote, and engage in a silent Socratic dialogue with a partner with regard to the meaning of that quote to them. Now, how does this connect to our work in our class? Well, the cycles of thoughtful questioning are reminiscent of Appreciative Inquiry by Cooper, Ryder, and Whitney. I spent some time working on Appreciative Inquiry, and it's where you ask positive probing questions so that the value of what is being discussed is appreciated. It goes up in value instead of stay stagnant. It's not critical. It's not negative. It's not things like, don't you think it would be better if, etc. It's more like, so why did you choose this path? Trying to dig deep or to probe a little bit. The questions and responses follow Freire's problem-posing model and Winger's cycles of participation and reification. The activity exemplifies Freire's definition of praxis, as the action and the reflection occur simultaneously. As the students engage in these questions and answers, they're reflecting and acting at the same time. The students' exploration of the quotes deeply connects them to some sort of personal philosophy, and so it explores the generative themes. And the final assignment, where the students are asked to write a speech with regard to the quote based upon the dialogue that just took place, it encourages the students to reify his or her experience by producing an object that congeals the experience into some sort of thingness. Now, the next activity is something I call What Do You See? It is inspired by an activity that was described in Freire's Pedagogy of the Oppressed. In the book, Freire talked about how an investigator had shown some tenement residents a picture of a drunk walking down the street. Now, the investigator expected the tenement workers to talk about the drunk and alcoholism, and it was going to be a springboard to some sort of conversation about that. Instead, what happened is the investigator got reactions like, that poor souse, he's just coming home from a hard day's work, and he doesn't get any pay, and he's got so many worries, he's just like us. So it was dramatically different from what the investigator expected to see and resonated more with the tenement residents' own experience. What I'm asking students to do is to look at some images and decode those images through writing and dialogue with their peers. What I try to do is select images that hopefully will evoke diverse reactions and will enable the students to appreciate their and some other points of view. So what do some of the images look like? Well, here are a couple of the images. The image on the left, someone could interpret that as triumph, or they could interpret it as despair. The image on the right could be, the girl could be sad, or the girl could be pensive. I also have some images like these. I have the image of the inside of a church. And for some, the inside of a church is a welcome and warm and wonderful place. And for others, the church is filled with hatred and bigotry. There's an old farmhouse. Now, that farmhouse could evoke some good memories, or it could be considered a shack to whoever is looking at it. So it may evoke different sorts of reactions. I also have a picture of the police. For some folks, the police are good guys, and for some folks, the police are bad guys. So here's a couple of other images. I have an assembly line where in a meatpacking plant, some people could consider that a sweatshop, a terrible work environment. Some people might think of it as just work. Yay, it's a place where you can draw a paycheck. I have a pair of old boots. Maybe to some people they look like hiking boots, or others they might look like work boots. Some they may just say these are nasty, dirty boots. So hopefully all of these images will evoke different sorts of reactions. What I've done is the connection to the work in our class is that the images represent Freire's coded existential situations that acquire meaning as thoughtful as back to it from various dimensions. Hopefully these are somewhat coded and the students are decoding those images through their conversations. The images become points of focus for the negotiation of meaning according to Winger. The structure and safe environment for dialogue encourages and reinforces community. And the fact that I'm going to have students examine several images in one sitting, we're going to reflect on and look at one image, and then we'll pull up a new image, and then we'll pull up a new image. The examination of all these different images hopefully will give students a sort of large picture to divide and reintegrate into the whole to better understand their own issues of identity in the broader community. I'm hoping that students can explore issues of self in the context of community as they articulate the importance of the diversity in their world and hopefully perceive themselves as subjects rather than objects. At the end of this particular activity, they'll be writing a paper with regard to an appreciation for diversity. The last activity that I explored is an academic controversy. I've talked a little bit about that in some of the discussion boards. This is based upon the academic controversy exercises by the Johnson brothers. In my particular academic controversy, students formed teams of 2 to engage in a highly structured debate on the views of the controversial topic, the Confederate battle flag. We talked again about this during our discussion, and I just went with it. The structure of an academic controversy requires students to divorce themselves of emotion and examine this provocative issue objectively. Now, my plan here is to give the students their source material for this controversy. I talked about in the discussion that I wanted students to look at outside research, but what I've discovered as I was looking for research to support this particular activity, there's getting to be precious little research advocating the heritage side of the Confederate battle flag, so I'll have to probably dig pretty carefully to find some good solid material that advocates the heritage side. The point of view, the sentiment right now in America is so pointed toward the hate side that the heritage side is getting swallowed up and getting stamped down by all of the folks who are dismissing the heritage. So, how does this connect to our work? The activity encapsulates Freire's dialogue of education as a practice of freedom. The activity shows faith in the student's ability to reason, which is a condition of praxis. The activity exemplifies Winger's joint enterprise because they're working in tandem to a collective process to negotiate, not determined by an outside mandate, a prescription, or by any individual participant. The activity ensures that students think for themselves, producing some and acting upon their own ideas and not consuming those of others. So I'm hoping that this academic controversy will hit all of those buttons. So what did I hope that I accomplished with these 3 activities? Well, hopefully all 3 of these activities leverage the power of a structured dialogue to negotiate meaning and to develop a shared repertoire of resources to promote further engagement down the road. Also, the activity includes elements that are required for successful application of cooperative learning. And finally, all 3 activities, I tried to make them confront culture so that students may become more fully human. So let me know if I hit those marks. I'm hoping that Winger and Freire would be proud. Thank you for listening, and thank you for participating in everything associated with the class. See you later.